Hello guys and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to look at two very good video editing software for 2023. These are my top pick for 2023. If you are interested in using very good software to carry out your video editing for your social media, for your YouTube channel, I strongly recommend you try these two software. I've made a complete tutorial on how to use them. Even in this video, I'm going to give you a brief overview of how to use this software for complete beginners. So this is my choice. The first one is Davinci Resolve 18. I've shown you how to download and install it and then how to use it for beginners in this same tutorial. And then the second pick for the year 2023 is Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro also is extremely interesting and has a lot of features that you will need for your next level video editing. So without taking much of our time, let's get into the basic tutorial on how to use both software.
Final Cut Pro is Apple's professional level, non-linear, non-destructive video editing software. It offers the most advanced organizing tools of any professional video editing application. This video is for complete beginners with zero experience in the use of Final Cut. By the end of the tutorial, you will learn how to download and install the software, how to create a library, how to create an event and project. You will also learn the general overview of the platform, how to do basic video editing with Final Cut, how to add B-rolls, text, transitions, and effects. You will equally learn how to adjust speed and add music to your Final Cut Pro footage. You will also learn how to do color grading and finally export your videos in different formats using Final Cut Pro. So without taking much of our time, let's get started. Alright, so to download and install Final Cut, all you need to do is to come to your browser over here and just type apple.com/Final Cut Pro. Okay, so you can see it just like this. I'll put this whole link in the description. And once you're here, you can just come all the way to try it. You can give it a try if you want, and you can buy directly. But then if you want to try, you can try for 90 days and you'll be given access to the latest version of Final Cut to do all your basic editings. And this is very, very effective. You can find it extremely useful if you can try this for 90 days. After 90 days, then you can consider subscribing and buying the full package. So you can just go ahead and download and install it on your PC. So I'll see you on the other side. So once you've installed the Final Cut, you can just come all the way to your gallery over here or the Launchpad and you can see it over here, Final Cut Pro. So you just click on it and you'll be welcomed with this very screen. So this is a complete blank screen where you have the different features which I will explain in very brief. For example, here you have the library panel. Okay, this is where you create your library, and the events as well as the projects all are housed over here. Okay, and then this is where you have the media bin. Okay, whatever you import, you find it over here. And then over here, you are going to see this is the preview panel. Okay, where you will see the preview of all the video you are editing, all the footage you are editing. You will be able to preview and play over here with it. And then the next one here is the effects and controls of all the features you are editing. You will be able to find the effects and control on most of the properties that you can edit accordingly as you proceed with your video editing. And down here, all we have here is the timeline. This is where you bring in the media and then play around with it with the playhead, and I'll show all this in detail as we move on. So next is we have these photos and videos. You'll be able to showcase the photos, videos, and the music that you have over here, or you can check out the title as well as the generators over here. So there are a bunch of them. There are titles, 3D, 360, and credits, elements, lower thirds. You'll be able to see most of them, and as you hover over any of them, you'll be able to see the preview over here. Okay, so these are titles and these are generators. Later I will show you in details how to use all this. We need to create a library to start our project afresh. So there are two ways to create a library. You can come to file over here and come to new and just go ahead and click on library. So you just click on library and it's going to prompt in the default location or the last location you attempted to save a project on Final Cut. So you need to specify location wherever you want to save it. You can just go ahead. I want to save mine in this Final Cut and I want to give it a name. Let's say we'll give it a name tutorial 2. So this is the library I'm trying to create, tutorial 2. You just click on save. And it has created our library over here. So usually by default, it comes in with library and then we have the event. Okay, so you have the event. If you don't want this event that it's created, you can create an event by just right clicking over here and say new event or new project. So events are housed under library, under a specific library. We can have series of events, and under any given event you can have different kind of projects. So that's how they are arranged in Final Cut. Right now we have this as our own event. We can decide to create a new one, or we can decide to rename this one if you want. But then let's say we go ahead and create a new event by just right clicking over here, or you can come still to the file and then new, and then you can say new event. You can just click and then you can give it a name. So the default is it takes in the date and the date of that particular project that you are working on. So you can just give it a name. So let's call it spending some time with yourself. So this is the video I'm trying to edit here. So you can specify this event is under which library. So if you have a multiple library, you'll be able to select and just save it under that particular library. And then you can create a new project on this if you want. But then let's say we'll take it step by step. Right now, I want to create this event under this tutorial too. So you can just click on create, and you can see it has created this very event under this library for us. So the next thing is we'll try to import our media. Okay, so you can import media by just coming over here and clicking on import, and you're going to see from your computer, you can navigate to wherever you have your footage. For example, I have mine under Final Cut over here, and I have this video, spend time with yourself. I can easily select it and go ahead and import it, import selected from here. Okay, so you can import selected. One thing you should pay attention to is the different features: add to existing library, add to existing event. If you want this media or this video to go to this event, you can just click and it will just add it to this event. Or if you want it to go to this very event, you can add it, and then you can create a new event as well from here. Give it a name, and then you can save under that particular event. Okay, then the files, what happens is people sometimes try to copy the file to the library, which is not really advisable most of the time. You can easily leave files in place wherever they are, and then you can just link them up in Final Cut, so it just works directly, which is my most preferred method. Leave everything in place, and then you can just link them up. Okay, so all other things I kept at default. The keywords, the analyze video, the transcode, I keep everything, the codec, I keep everything at default. So I just go ahead and say import selected. So it's just going to import that particular video for us. So right now we have created a library, we have created an event, and then we've imported video footage over here. Okay, so the next thing is we can try to import the video. You can start to create a new project by just coming over here and just clicking on new project, and to prompt to this. Another way you can do it is you can still come to file over here, come to new, and then you can go to project. So once you click on project, it's going to bring you over here. So you have to give the project a name. So let's say this is basic editing of this particular footage that I'm working on, and you can specify this project to be under which event. So you can give the event, for example, I'm working on this footage on spend some time with yourself, and then you can have everything at default. If you want, you can leave everything at default, but if you want, you can see custom settings over here. Okay, by just clicking on use custom settings, you'll be able to specify the video format, like 1080p is what I usually use, but you can go as far as 4K, 5K, 8K if you want, depending on how powerful your system is. And then you have the resolution. The format is 1920 by 1080, and the frame rate I usually go for 30 frame rate per second. And then the rendering format is Apple ProRes, which is usually the default, and I like everything. The audio settings, I keep everything on the stereo and 48 kilohertz, which is the default. I keep everything at default. What I change is mostly the video format. So you can just go ahead and change it, and then go ahead and click on OK to create that particular project. So right now you can see now the timeline is being enabled, and you can just click on this video footage that you've just imported. You can drag around, you can drag it into the timeline and drop it just like so. And as you hover over it, you'll be able to see it. Right now you have some sound, okay, which as you hover over, you're not supposed to hear. So to mute that, you can just come all the way here to this point and just mute this. And you can see now if I'm moving, I can't hear any sound. Okay, so as you hover over with this red line, you'll be able to see the preview of what is inside this particular video. And once you look down here, you'll be able to see the audio profile. Okay, so you'll be able to see the audio profile clearly, and you know where exactly you are talking and where you are not talking, and where you need to do some cuttings and all that. So this is basically how to create a project to import the media and then to drag it into the timeline. And you can do the same movement with the playhead as well to have a preview of what is happening. So this is the playhead, and you can move across from left to right or anywhere, okay, within the timeline. And as you select any video clip, any clip, you will be able to see its properties over here: the blend mode, the opacity, the transform features, the position, rotation, scale, and in both X and Y axis, the anchor points, and the cropping feature, and all that you can find them over here. Any footage you click, any media you clip, you'll be able to see its properties over here, the effect controls. So the next thing is we are going to look at how to do some basic editing in Final Cut. Okay, so to edit footage that you have bringing into the timeline, there are different ways. For example, the first method is if you want to trim the video from the beginning. For example, I want to trim the video from the beginning to maybe this point. I want my video to start at this point. All I need to do is to hover over to the edge of the clip, and you can see my cursor just turn into this. I can just easily drag, and you can see I'm trimming it up to this point that I plan, okay, up to this point, and I want my starting point to be here. I just release it, and what it does is it actually crop the other section of the video. If at any given point you decided you want some part of it to show, you can also come over here to the edge and just drag it all out again, and you can see the other sections are coming up. So that's one important part of trimming. It is not deleting everything, it is cropping it so you can easily get back to it much later. You can do the trimming from both sides. You can do on left and right. You can come to the right section. Also, you can trim as well. So this is the first part, trimming. The next thing is you can do some cutting. Okay, you can cut. So let's check the blade mode. The blade mode you can do by just hitting on the letter B from your keyboard, and you can see it has changed to this scissor sign. At any given point, you can decide to cut. You can see it has created a cut. You can decide to create a cut. You can decide to create a cut, and now it has split the whole clip into about 5 sections. So you can come down here and you can see the blade mode by just clicking on letter B, or you can go back to the selection mode by clicking on letter A, and you can see the clip has been subdivided into about 5. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, into 4 sections. So you can see it has really cut the sections. By just hitting on the letter B to enable the blade mode, you can just cut at any given point, and you can hit on the letter A to go back to the selection tool, and you can select the different media and move them around to rearrange, and then you can have them maybe rearranged accordingly. Okay, so you can just move them across and rearrange them so you can have them properly arranged. One thing I like about Final Cut is as you select a given section, you delete it, it's going to do ripple delete. It's going to cover the gap that you've just created. So that's another way. Another quick way that, let me just undo some of these cuttings so that I can show you how to edit faster using the ripple edit. So in Final Cut, if you want to do ripple edit forward, for example, I enable the blade mode and just cut this clip at this point and go back to the playhead, and you can see I created a cut here. And what I want is, maybe at this point I want to delete from here to this point, to this cutting point. So I can do that using the ripple delete mode. Okay, so to do that, you can hit on Option, the square bracket close to delete from here to here. So Option on your keyboard, on your keyboard, hit on the Option key and the open square bracket, and you can see it has just created that clip, that cut for me. And if I want also from here, from the beginning to this point, I want to remove it, I can do Option square bracket open, and it's going to do that for me. Okay, so you can see pretty fast and interesting. So if I want from here to the other edge, let me do that again, Option plus square bracket close, and it's going to create that for me. So it makes editing pretty fast and interesting. So at any given point you want to create any given ripple edit or ripple delete, you can just do that, ripple delete right and ripple delete left. You can do that with the Option and the square bracket keys. Okay, this is very, very important and useful. So you can check out the other multiple features that you can have from here as well, like the selection tool, the trimming tool that we've just highlighted. You can do that with the letter T, the position tool, the range selection tool, and the zoom tool. You can do zoom in and out. using the letter Z and the hand tool for the panning and moving around. So this is basically how to do some basic editing with Final Cut Pro. Now the next thing is we'll try to bring in B-rolls and show you how to put in different type of B-roll from images to videos on top of your footage. So as you are hovering over, as you are experiencing as you are playing a given video, at some point you can move in to show something, just something like this, as you just navigate from the main video into this B-roll to illustrate something, and then move back to the video and continue. So to bring in B-rolls, I have classified my B-rolls into different categories. For example, I have them arranged as B-rolls here. You can just click and you see I have videos, I have images over here, and when you go back here, I have videos that I put just for reference purpose. And as we are moving, you can be able to add them into the timeline. So to bring in B-rolls, all you need to do is to come to the media bin or the project panel over here and just right click and say import media. So you can just navigate to wherever you have them in your device. For example, mine, I have it in this desktop. You can just come down all the way here. So you can see Final Cut over here. So you can just go ahead and you can see my B-rolls. I can import them at the same time. So by just selecting, I can select import selected, and it's going to import both the video and the audio. So you can see them arranged over here. The media are arranged separately. So to bring in a media into the timeline at a given location, for example, I want to bring in the media at this point before the starting of this, after this taking off this T. In the next one, I want to start with the B-roll. I will just drag it and drop it. So assuming I want to drag this image, drag it and drop it on the timeline, just like so. And then I can position it to make sure that I got it right at the right position that I want. For example, I want it to start somewhere here. So I can just select and use my B key to bring in the scissors tool or the blade tool and just make a cut here. And I can just bring back the selection tool by pressing the letter A and select this and delete. And then maybe I want this one also to last until here. And I can still do the blade tool, cut here, and then back to the selection tool, and then you can select and delete. So I have my B-roll situated around this. So once I start up to this, and then the B-roll comes in, and then it goes out back to the normal video. Okay, so this is how to bring in the first one. I can bring in another B-roll if I want. For example, the image of this guy, I can just easily drag and drop it here. And then I can just position it. You can use the command and plus sign to zoom in and out, plus or minus sign to zoom in and out, so that you can be able to see clearly what you are dealing with. So I can come over here as well and select this point, make a cut here and make a cut here as well. And then back to my selection tool and then delete both of them. So I have my B-rolls around here located. Okay, so next is I can bring in the video as well if I want. So let me zoom out here. So I can select any video. For example, I select this video. I can just drag it and drop it on the timeline and then define the areas that I want it to come in. So for example, I can see it comes in here. I want this point when the girl becomes surprised here at this point. So I just make a cut. I press the letter B, make a cut here, and then back to the selection tool and delete this point. So you can see if I'm playing it, it's going to show that surprising point. And then maybe I want it up to this point. Okay, then I want to create another cut. So blade tool and make another cut back to the selection and then delete here. So you can see just like so, she went wow, and then back to the normal. Then I want to put the B-rolls as well at this point, another video. So just select the video and just drag and drop it on the timeline. So this is this small girls running. Okay, so they are running up to the end point. If you want it to, depend on how long you want it. I want it at this point to just stop here. So I enable the blade tool. I make a cut back to the selection, delete this. And then I have my B-rolls around here. So you can see just running and then back to the main video. Okay, so this is very easy and fantastic, and you can make your work very, very easy and nice, and you can bring in different impressions to your video and make it look very, very much professional. Later I will show you how to use transitions to actually make it look superb and fantastic. Okay, so This is how to bring in B-rolls into the timeline and continue with your editings in Final Cut. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is how to add text into the timeline and then be able to preview it in the canvas and format it using the different text formats that we have in Final Cut. So to start with, all you need to do is to identify the place where you want to add the text, and you can just come all the way to titles and generators slide bar over here. You can see a bunch of different titles. You have from 3D to 3D cinematic. You can see them as you hover over. You'll be able to see the preview on the main preview windows. Okay, you can see the preview as you just hover over it. Okay, so you just be able to have an idea of what you are doing. This is 360 title, this is 360, this is 360, and this is built in, built out, in and out. Okay, you can be able to preview and see how it comes in and how it goes out. This is bumper opener. So as you hover over it, you'll be able to see the different features that it's likely to bring in terms of this. When you are trying to have a list of something, you'll be able to list them accordingly based on the subtitle that you have. Then you have credits. You want to give credits to someone somewhere, you just be able to put their name and the description and you just attach it. So you can have lower thirds as well. I have a bunch of interesting ones over here. You just put in your name and the description. Okay, name and description. You can just see it very fantastically. So all you need to do is just to drag and drop. Okay, just to drag and drop. So if you want to go for simple titles, or if you have a specific title or text that you have in mind you want to go for, you can just easily go ahead and drag and drop that feature into your canvas, into the timeline. So for example, let's say we go with simple titles, and then maybe we can have something like this 3D, basic 3D. Okay, so you can just select it, drag it, and then drop it maybe at this intro point. You can just drop it, and then you can use the command plus the plus sign to zoom in and out to see in details of what you have. So once you drag and drop, you will be able to then come to the edges and you can extend the length, or you can shorten it from the edges to specifically define where you want the text to appear in your video. Okay, so you'll be able to, once you bring it in, you can select it and you have the properties over here, the basic properties that you need, you will have them. So let's say right now we can hide all, so we can just be showing them one after the other. So right now you have the normal, this is the normal text. Okay, this is normal. Once you click on this, you will be able to have the 2D effects, 2D styles. You can see different kind of styles, but once you take the playhead to that particular location, that's when you will be able to see the changes that you have. So for example, now the text is basic 3D. You can see it over here, basic 3D, but you can change it if you so wish. For example, you can say welcome to my channel. All right, so you can see welcome to my channel, and then you can check on the different style, 2D style. You can make it bold, and you can make it something like this. This is preset template. You can check and make it offset if you want it to be something like this, and you can see it has changed it to yellow, and that effect has taken effect. So you can see you can change it to this, any setting of your choice. You can change it to this. I think I kind of like this, and then you can go on your own to check out the 3D styles. You can have 3D styles also. This blue plastic is good. And you can have basic 3D. You can check around and just put in any one of your choice. I kind of don't like this, so you can just check, come back here, and then maybe you go with basic 3D. I think this is good. Then you can maybe select the 2D effect and go with this condensed. I kind of like it. Down here you can have the text. You can put in any text of your choice, and then you have the basic editing features. You can click on show here to be able to show the basic editing features, such as the font style. You can see this is condensed, that we've specified at the top. You can check on any, and as you hover over, you'll be able to see the fonts changing on the text that you've inputted. Once you reach a particular one that you are interested in, you can just hit on it and it's going to take it up. You can see other features like the sizing. You can play around with the sizing. You can increase or decrease the size of the text accordingly as you wish. And if you want to go back at any given point to the default setting, you can always hit on this arrow and it's going to take it back to the default setting. Okay, and I think I kind of like it to increase this much in size. And then you can have the alignment. You can align left, right, center, and all that. You can put in the alignment, and you can even justify accordingly. You have vertical alignment, you have line spacing. You can be able to increase or decrease the line spacing in case when you have more than one line of text and you have tracking issues. You can do all that. You can increase the baseline, you can move it to the top or to the bottom accordingly, or you can undo or bring it back to the default. And you can force the letters to go all caps, just like so. Everything now goes back to capital letter, and then, or you can make it all small letters. Okay? You can play around with the cap size also. You can make it smaller, or you can make them bigger accordingly. So just feel free to give it a try and see what you can do. And then in terms of position, you can play around with the X, Y, and Z direction. You can see as you just select, you can move it to the right, to the left. This is on the X-axis. You can do the same on the Y-axis. You can move it top, up, or bottom, okay, up or down, just like so. You can play around with it until you are certain in the position. And then in the Z direction also, you can play around with it accordingly. And in each case, you can always hit on the arrow to go back to the default setting. And then you have rotation. You can go ahead and rotate the image, the text accordingly. You want it to increase, to rotate, just like so. You can play around with the rotation on the X-axis. You can do the same playing with the rotation on the Y-axis, and then you can play around with the same rotation also on the Z-axis if you so wish. So it's something very, very nice and interesting because you have all the access to all the basic features that you need to carry out most of this basic editing. Then you have the scaling. You can scale to the X-axis, okay, and you can scale to the Y-axis as well to make it a bit bigger, larger, and then you can scale to the Z-axis as well, make it a bit bigger. So you can hide on these the basic ones, and you can go to 3D effect and show this. You can enable the 3D effects, and then you'll be able to have the depth of the text. You can increase or decrease the depth accordingly, and then depth of direction, you can do centered, or you can do forward, backward. You can do all that. The weight of the text, you can increase or decrease, just like so. Make it thinner or make it thicker accordingly. Okay, then you have the front edge, you have the front edge size. You can do all sort of things. Then you can come to lighting. As you finish with the 3D, you can disable it or you can hide it. You can check the lightning. You can increase the lighting intensity or decrease it accordingly. Okay, so you can check the lighting style and make it standard. Right now it's in standard. You can make it backlit or above or thereabout. You can just go ahead and play around with all this. Then we have stealth shadow. You can show it and then be able to see opacity. You can increase the opacity or decrease accordingly. And then the softness of the edges, you can increase or decrease accordingly. Because we are using white color, that's why you don't see most of it. Then you have the environment. You'll be able to check out the different rotation, contrast, saturation, and all that from here of all your text. And then you have the material. In the material, that's when you change the actual color of the text. So let's say you're in materials over here and you can see the basic things. You make it shiny, or you can make it matte, or you make it textured. Okay, you can make it textured if you want, but I think shiny is doing a lot of a good job. And then you can check the coloration. You can change the coloration. You can just hit and you'll be able to navigate around to change the color accordingly. As you move around, you can see the color is changing on the canvas. Yeah, very nicely done. So as you hover over, you'll be able to check on the best color that suits you and that you're interested in putting. Then we have the glow effect. You can show the glow effect and be able to see you can glow with this color, yellow color, or you can glow with any other color of your choice. Okay, and you can see it's showing on the main text. You can play around with the opacity from here as well in terms of the glow effect, the radius nature, and the blurry nature. And on each case, you can either hit on this to go back to the default, or you can individually restore back to the default. And then you can have drop shadows. If you want to drop a shadow, you can show the details. You can see right now the shadow is black. You can change it to any color of your choice. You can select and then move around. For example, you can move around here and you'll be able to have the different color of your choice. And then you have the opacity, the blurry nature of the drop shadow. You can edit all these to your taste. And then the distance. You can see the shadow, and then you can play around with the coloration from here. Okay, and then you'll be able to see the actual drop in shadow. So you can reduce it, make it smaller, just to be able to be visible. You can change the angle of the shadow. You can make it the other way instead of this way. You can change it accordingly. So these are the very basic things you need to understand when it comes to text adding text in Final Cut. It's rich with different kind of features, different kind of even presets that you can easily add and you can play around to experience and like it. So let's say we put in this text and you can just play it. Let's see, we play it. And then it goes out. So that's kind of perfect. And you can do the same thing with different kind of text like I've explained. So just feel free to go on to try different ones and see the one that fits your content and that can send in the message that you want and give the professionalism that you want. But for this is how to give the basic editing, put in the basic properties to make it look professional. So that does it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. All right, so the next thing is we'll try to look at how to add transitions and effects into our video footage or into the timeline to continue with our editing. So to add transitions, all you need to do is to come over here and click on this small icon called transition browser. You can just click on it and you can see a bunch of transitions. For example, this is cross dissolve. As you hover over any kind of transition effect, you're going to see the effect. Okay, so just hover over it and you'll be able to see the effect it's going to have on your video. So this is 360. You can check around and see a lot of them. Okay, so you can just see the effect. Just hover over any of them and you will be amazed. And this is blur effect. You can blur effect just like so, and you have different kind of dissolves from divide to cross dissolve to lights. You can have lights, lens flare, something like that. So there are lots of different kind of transitions that you can easily import and apply them into your video. So let's have a look at how we can apply different kind of transitions. For example, let's go back to all and I want to insert this cross dissolve. So across this text. So let's try to put it across this text. For example, we can just drag it and drop it somewhere. Okay, so we just drop it and by default it applies the transition at the beginning and at the end of the clip. So let's try to look at the transition at the text. So at the intro, you can just see how it fades in gradually from the clip to the text, and then at the end of it all, it fades out gradually. It fades out, and you can do all sort of things with the text, with the effects. For example, you can select it and then you can increase the transition, okay, the duration of the transition. And now you can see if you preview, it's going to fade in much longer. For example, you can see it takes him longer time to fade in and then stays on the clip and then it fades out. So the longer or the shorter the transition has effect also on the way it's going to look on your main video. So usually you have to quantify and know exactly how you want it. If you want it to be long or short, you can still make it, and you can have other properties as well. As soon as you select a given transition effect, you can have the transition effect properties over here, like the ease in and out. Do you want to make it? Do you want to increase it or decrease it? You can do that all from here. Okay, how does it ease in and out? You can select and then you can vary along the look of the video. You can change and you can change the fade in and out. This is currently at S curve. You can click to see other linear or 3dB features that you can add to your transition. So this is the first one, adding transitions to a text. We can equally add transitions to a video. For example, the transition between this our normal clip into this b-roll, we can add another transition. For example, we can just check around. Let's go to wipes. I kind of like wipes sometimes. See this effect, we can just drag and drop it on the video, and you can see it puts it at the bottom end as well. So take a look at the transition. You can see from the main video into the b-roll, and then you can do the same as you move again out of the video. Okay, so you can see from the main b-roll into the main video, it just flips out or wipes out. So that's how to kind of add it, and you can extend the length as well by just selecting on the transition effect. You can see the properties as well. Direction, you want it to be right slant or you want it to be left slant, you can change all that from here, and then you can extend the period. Okay, the period of you can extend the transition period. So for example, instead of it to wipe faster, it now wipes slowly. You can see it wipes in slowly, taking much longer time. So it all depends on you. If you want it to be shorter, if you want it to be longer, you can just make it fantastically. So the same way. And if you don't want to have at the end of it all, you just want it to cut into the main channel, you can select and delete this particular transition. Very easy. So you can see it comes in and then it goes out from the b-roll into the main video. So another place that I used to add is, for example, you can add also on this image the same way you add. You can just select just this circle, drag and drop. Okay, and you can see you can select it and you can reduce the length of it, so it just becomes very small. So you can see you can play it on your own. So you can see the transition into the video and outside of the video, very nicely done. So another place that I used to add transitions in my video editing is between clips. So for example, when you have two clips that you have separated, for example, this one and this one, I have these two clips that it moves from here to here. Or let me select another one, for example, this one. Let me enable the blade mode and cut at this point because this is the same video. So within the same clip. So let's say I'm cutting at this point and I want to add a transition here between this clip that I have just cut. So all I need to do is to drag the transition. I usually don't add transitions between these kind of clips. All I need is just to zoom in on one of them. Okay, so for example, I select this one. Let me go back to my selection tool. I select this clip and just come to transform over here. You click on show over here and then you can come to scale all. Okay, so scale all, you can just scale it to maybe 103 or 110. 110 is good. You can do it manually or you can just do it on your own and just make sure it's a bit about 108 or 110. You can just add 110. All right, and hit enter, and then when you transit, you will now see the effect. Okay, so this one becomes a little bit glaring than the other one. Okay, so you can see it. So the movement is kind of physical. You can easily see it, and you can apply transitions at any given point based on your choice. Okay, so depending on what kind of transition you want, you can easily apply depending on what kind of content you are creating. So basically, this is how to use transitions and add transitions into your clips or video editing in Final Cut Pro. That does it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Now the next thing is to learn how to speed up clip in Final Cut Pro. So to speed up a clip, all you need to do is to select that particular clip that you want to speed up, and then you can come up here and see this small speed ramp, this small arrow, and you just click on this small arrow and you can see it. You can slow it down by 50%, or you can slow it down by 25%, or you can slow it down by 10%. However you want it, you can do it with Final Cut. And you can speed it up by 2 times the speed. Okay, at any video clip is at 100%. If you do 2x speed, it's going to go to 200%. If you go 4x, it's going to go 400 and 800 same way. Okay, or 2000 same way. Okay, so you can always come back to normal by just using Shift N, or you can just click and it's going to go back to the normal speed. And then you can hold or freeze the clip, and then you can do blade speed, or you can do custom speed, and you can reverse clip accordingly, or you can move from or reset a given speed, or you can check out a bunch of other speed effects. For example, automatic speed ramp from 100 to 200, or from 0 to 200 at the starting of a given clip. You can do all that from here, and you can do instant replay or rewind. You can do all that from here. So just feel free to go ahead and apply anything. So you can say, for example, this video, I want to slow it by 50%. Once you click on slowing it by 50%, you will notice that the length of the entire clip has increased. It's going to increase, and you can see right now you can move across, and this video is now in slow motion.
Students, but the question is,
now you can see it's definitely in slow motion. So assuming I want to create a blade and I want to make a cut at this point, and let's say I have my speed ramp over here and I want to increase it from 50 to maybe 60%. I can do that as well. So all you need to do is to go back to the selection tool by pressing on letter A, and then you can come to the extreme end. At this clip, the speed ramp is the slowing is applied, or the speeding effect is applied, which is slowed by 50%. If you want to increase or decrease, you can come to the extreme end over here and you can decrease it over here. And you can see you are slowing it down by 60%. or you can increase it and you make it faster by slowing it down by maybe 33% or 30%. So all these have effect, and you can do that manually on your own. Okay, so you can easily select that and come over here and do the editing accordingly. So basically, this is how to add speed ramping and speed up your clip in any way, however you want it. Make it faster or make it slower or make it in any way as you want. Speed ramp from a given speed to a given speed. You can do all that from here or rewind it accordingly. So feel free to give it a try and let me know what you think on the chat box. If you have any issues, I can help you to address all that. I think that does it for increasing the speed of a clip. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Now the next thing is to add music into our editing timeline, and you can import music from anywhere. In my own case, I usually go to Pixabay and then I download the music and then I import it. So let me show you how I do it. Just come to your browser and just type pixabay.com, and you can see over here, you just specify what kind of media you are looking for. By clicking here, you can come all the way, you can see music and sound effects. For example, in my own case, it's music. I just click and I'm looking out for music. Maybe I put background music. I'm looking for background music, and then I just search directly and you can see a bunch of them. Okay, so there are lots of background music over here. So you just play to have a preview of what it is. And these are royalty free images, free music that you can use and reuse and even share with your friends. It's completely free to use. So you can just preview by just clicking on anyone, and once you're certain of any background music that you want to download, you can just go ahead, come over here and just click on download, and it's going to download it for you over here. So you just select it and put it on your editing profile, or you can import it directly. So in my own case, I'm going to import it from my Final Cut. So I come back to Final Cut, and to import any media, as usual, as I've showed you, is you come to file over here and just go straight to import, and then you specify media. You just navigate to where exactly you have that media file. So for example, in my own case, I have it in YouTube under this Final Cut tutorial. So I have it under Final Cut, I have it on music. So you just open this and you can see lifelike background. You can just select it, okay, and just come over here and say import selected, and it's going to import that video, that audio, that music for you directly. So what you need to do is just select it and drag it and drop it into the timeline, just like so. Very easy. And you can see it has just imported it for us as a music, as a background music. So usually to play a background music, you have to be aware of the sound volume effect. So you can play around with the volume. Usually, naturally, you can start by playing around with this line. Okay, you can increase the volume by just playing around with this line, increasing or decreasing accordingly, but you'll be able to see the profile. Some are getting red, some are getting yellow, but the key thing is to not allow your sound or your volume to peak to get to the red level. It has to be just between the green color as well as the yellow. So don't let it go into the red line, because it's going to peak and it's going to make your videos to look fantastic. So let's try to zoom out and see our video. So you can see we have the music up to this point. You can copy or you can drag the same audio and put it again. This is what I usually do. I usually drag and put it and then try to connect them. So after the first music, it's going to restart again, and then I drag again, I put it again on the other track. So after the third one, it's going to restart again. So what I used to do at this point is it exceeds the main video. So I can just go ahead, come to the extreme end over here, and you can see it has shown this sign. So you can just trim to the end and until it connects to my main video. Okay, so you can see it has just connected. Usually what I do in adding videos, in adding music into my track, is I used to have a fade in and fade out. I do apply that at the end of the clip and at the beginning. So to apply any fade in, once you hover over any music track, you can be able to see a small dot at the end over here. So you can just drag that small dot and move it around, and you can see it is fading your music. Okay, it is fading your music from whichever point the sound is going to go down at that point. So you can see it is going to fade out from that point. Whatever sound or whatever volume you are on, as you get to this point, is going to die down up to 0. Okay, so it's going to like fade out naturally. You can do that at the entrance as well. So you can come to the entrance, you can come hover over the clip, and you can see that small dot. You can just drag it and you can see you can fade in, and the volume is going to start from 0 until this point. It's going to get louder at this point. That is going to go back to 100. And alternatively, if you want to play around or increase or play around with the volume, you can just select the media. You can come back here to these properties. You'll be able to see the media over here. You can increase or decrease the volume also from here, and you can see it increasing or decreasing from the timeline over here. So this is another way to play around with the volume, and you can enable the audio meters as well if you want to be able to visualize your audio, how it is performing, by just coming to Windows over here and show in workspace, and you'll be able to show the audio meters over here. So you just click on audio meters and it's going to show that over here. So once you start playing your music, it's going to show the audio meter from the audio meter. So let's just select and hit on the space bar, and you can see. So what it does is it just show you the level of the volume. If you see it hitting the red sign, it means it's bad. So you have to play and try to reduce it from here. And you can see even from here, it's showing some yellow and red signs. If you look very closely, you'll be able to see that. But you can try to reduce it by coming here and just reducing the size over here. And then you try to play by observing the audio meters and see how far it is going.
When was the last time?
You can see this is quite okay because it's still within the green range. It doesn't get to the red line as we have discussed. So this is basically how to add the music onto the timeline. So sometimes you may want to mute the music and play around with the main video sound effect. Once you're done with the sound effect, then you can come and increase or play around with the background music effect. Okay, so sometimes you may want to increase the sound volume at a given point, and you may want to decrease it at a given point. Sometimes I do what we call I apply the range selector, or sometimes I cut at a given point. So for example, if at this point I want to increase the volume of the music to go higher at this point, selected point. So all I need is I just come over here, select this point, and then enable the blade mode and just click to cut, and then click to cut at this point as well. And then I go back to the selection mode and I can increase my volume at this point. Okay, so between this point, I can make the increase or decrease as accordingly as I wish. So this is one way. Another way to do it is you can undo the cutting, and I can apply the range selector by just hitting on the letter R to enable the range selector. So once you drag a given selected area, for example this area, and within the range selector you can increase or decrease the volume of that particular clip as you so wish. So this gives you a kind of control because it even applies the keyframes at the entrance and exit, so you can feel free to play around with the keyframes, like such as the fading in and fading out, or putting in different kind of effects based on the keyframe. So it gives you that kind of control for you to play around and see what you can do. Fades in and it fades out using these keyframes. So you can do that at any given point by just hitting on letter R. You just select by just hitting on the letter R, it will enable the range selector. You just select and just drag across, and then you select that particular place and you apply the very effect you want to either increase or decrease, and it's going to give you that very effect, not across the whole, but on the selected part of the selected portion of the clip. So this is a very easy way to kind of apply different kind of music effects on your music, and to play around with the volumes across the clip as you're editing your video. So I think that does it for adding music into the timeline or into your video editing. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. That does it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, so the next thing is we'll learn how to do color grading with Final Cut Pro. Okay, so to do that, we select any of the clip. For example, I have many clips here, and for you to do color grading on or color correction on any of them, you just select one of the clips and do your color correction over there. And then after you color correct it, you can now copy the properties into the other clips that you have. Okay, so let's say we select this one as the first clip that we want to color correct. So you can come over here to this small magic wand, okay, and you just come to this small drop down arrow and you just click on it. So the first thing I used to do is I do color balance or balance color. As you click on balance color, you can come over here and enable these property settings, and you can see it over here. So this is balanced color. You can uncheck this to see the difference. It's just a little bit of balance in the coloration, but it's very, very small. You can see it. I've unchecked it and I've checked it with color balance, without color balance, with color balance. I think it's kind of visible, but it's very, very small. So that's the first thing. It gives it a little bit of a balance, and then you check the method over here. You just click on this and make it white balance. Okay, so you just make it white balance, and you can come over here and make sure you select this color picker. You just identify a white position in the video and just make a click of it, and it will automatically change or adjust the coloration of that particular video clip according to the white balance. So it will identify that place as pure white. So you can select anywhere, maybe this place or maybe within the shed over here. Can just make a selection and you can see it has given us a little bit of adjustment. Okay, so you have selected the white area and it has given us that change. All right, so the next thing is we move to the main color by coming to this small tab over here. We just click on this and you have a series of color effects that you can apply to your video. For example, down here we have the coloration, okay, where we have the global color, which is this one. Then we have the shadows, which is this one, the midtones and the highlights. So I'll show you how to edit and what effect all of these will have on your video clip at the beginner level. Okay, so next we have the saturation, which is the amount of color you have on your video. You can reduce it or you can increase it accordingly using these very different features. We have the global feature, or we have the shadows, midtones and highlights. Then we have the exposure, the rate of exposure of the image. You can control that also from the global perspective. When you use these, you can increase or decrease, and you can see the global exposure is being increased, or you can bring it down to the barest minimum. You don't want to make it too much because it will be too dark. You just have to tweak it a little bit to some extent, and then you can play around with the shadows. Can increase or decrease the shadows. You don't want to make it too much. You just want to make it a little bit, just a little bit of the shadow increment. You can see the percentage, just 8%. I think is good. Then you can play around with the midtones. Okay, areas that are lighter or darker, you can make them a bit light. And then you can sometimes bring it down to minimize the exposure. Okay, then we have the highlights. You just make it a little bit lighter. Okay, so you can see it's now looking much more better and professional. All right, so the next thing is we have the color. Okay, so we can do the same with the color on the global scale. We can play around with the coloration, and you can see we can make it a bit warmer, or we can come down here and change the coloration very nicely. You can see as you move around, you'll be able to see the changes at global scale. Okay, so but you don't want to go crazy with this. You just want to make a little bit of the touching. Okay, just very little difference. And then you can come out to the shadows and make a little bit of an adjustment as well. So just very little adjustment. You can see you can make the needed difference. Okay, so you can make the midtones as well. You can just vary it a little bit, because if you go too much, you can see it's getting colder, but then you can bring it back to warmer a little bit. And then you can come down to the highlights. Okay, the highlights also the same thing, just a little bit of the tweaking, you can see can result to that particular change you are looking for. Then we go to the saturation. Okay, saturation also is the amount of color that is in the video clip, like we've just explained. So you can go from the global scale, you can make it saturated, meaning having too much color, or you can make it darker, which means if you come down to 0, it removes all the coloration. So you don't want to go this crazy with it, so you just stay a little bit at the middle, and then you play around with the other features like the shadows and midtones as well to increase the sharpness and the saturation in terms of the coloration. You just want to make sure you get it a little bit. Okay, so you can see from here we are getting it kind of perfectly. We don't want to go too much, but we just want to make it a little bit higher so it becomes a bit warmer. So you can see now, I think our image is now quite beautiful. Our video is now quite beautiful. So we have done that only to a particular clip. Okay, so this particular effect, if you want to copy it to the other clips like this one, all you need to do is just to come back here, right click over here, or just come back here and just come to edit and come to copy. So it's going to copy everything, and then you can highlight the remaining clips that you want to paste on. So for example, you select this one, you can hold down the shift key and select the remaining clips. Okay, with the shift key press down, you can just right click, or you can come to the same edit. Okay, so you can come to paste attributes over here. You just click on paste attributes, and what do you want to paste? We just want to paste the effects. We want to paste color board 1. We want to put everything effects and color board 1. That's what we want to paste. And once we click on paste, it's going to take in that particular difference, that particular changes that we've inserted here, and it's going to carry it to all the other clips that we have. So basically, this is how to do some basic color corrections and color grading to your footage using Final Cut Pro. Alright, so the last part of the tutorial is on how to export your video in MP4 format from Final Cut Pro. So all you need to do is to come over once you're done editing, you have checked all the audios, you have checked all the videos and you have done the color correction and color grading, you have done all the basic editing, you've added the b-rolls and all the other images and media that you wanted to put in, and you've done all the cutting and joining, and you're satisfied with the video, you don't want to export it. All you need to do is to come to file over here, and you can just come to share and just go ahead and to export file, and then you can come down here to settings. Okay, so from settings you will have format. Usually if you want to export in for your YouTube video, you can always go to video and audio, which is the best quality. It's going to give you a very good quality. Except if you want smaller quality, you can go with Apple devices, computer or web hosting. You can give you smaller quality and smaller size videos. But for this, and you can export video only or audio only if you want. But for this, and for the fact that I'm exporting for YouTube channel, I usually go for video and audio, specifying this as mastering. Okay, so you can just go for video and audio, and then the video codec you just select. You can leave it at Apple ProRes, and it's going to give you a very fantastic quality. But if you're going for YouTube, I recommend you go for H.264, which is the MP4 format. So you just select this, and then you can make sure the resolution is as set initially 1920 by 1080, and then everything now can be left at default. Okay, so you can come all the way here and click on next, and it's going to ask you to save in, give it a name. So we can just spending some time with yourself, and then you specify the position where you want this video to be saved. Okay, so let's say we are going with this my document, and then you can select a given location. So let's say we are selecting here, and we are giving a new file, so you can just make it Final Cut export. So we just select and click create a new file, and then we save it inside, and you can see it has started the export. And if you want to see the percentage of the export, you can always come to this small circle over here. You just click on this, and you will be able to see the sharing option and how much percentage it is going in terms of the export. So you just wait for it to export complete, and then you can try to play it and see how much of the coloration or how much of the quality you have gotten. And you may want to play it in different devices to be able to get the performance as according to what you want. You can play it on the phone, you can play it on a tab, you can play it on your computer as well, using different kind of means, so that you can be able to see how it looks and sound on all of those devices. So basically this is how to use Final Cut Pro for beginners purpose. So let's just give it some seconds to finish up, and then we can try to play it back and see what we have. All right, so right now it has finished, so you can just play it and see what you have. And I think it kind of looks cool because all of the features that I have selected, I have added, are already in there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to look at Davinci Resolve 18 for complete beginners. So without wasting much of our time, let's get started. After installing the software, the next thing is to open it and create a project. So you can just come to your gallery over here, and you can just see it over here, Davinci Resolve. You just open it. So once it is starting, you will have access to this platform. Okay, so what you see here is you can create a new project by just clicking on new project over here, or you can see existing projects that you are working on currently. You can see them all listed here. No matter how many projects you have, you'll see it over here. So down here, this is a local one. You can have the network, or you can have on you can work on Davinci on cloud. You can utilize the Davinci online, so you can work with it on cloud. Next, over here you have the view options. You can increase or decrease the view of the panel of the project. Okay, whether you want it to be smaller view, or you want to increase it to be a bigger view, or you can make it this thumbnail view, or you can make it to be list view, just like so. And you can search in cases when you have so many projects opened, or you've worked on so many projects. You can easily come to the search bar and just type to search for a particular project, and you can filter by name or by different properties, formats, or notes that you've added. And over here you can add a given folder in cases when you want to work on a particular folder. Okay, down here you can have to create a new project or to open an existing project if you find it within the platform. So let's say I'll go back to the thumbnail view because I prefer that, and I want to create a new project. So I just click on this and just come over here to click on new project. And the next thing is you need to give it a name. Give your project a name. So let's call it Davinci Resolve Editing 1. So call it Davinci Resolve Editing 1, and we just click on create to create the project. So once you click on create to create the project, it brings you over to the main Davinci Resolve platform. Okay, so on opening the platform, this is what you have. To the top left over here, you have the media pool. Okay, so this is where you populate all your media in Davinci Resolve. This is where you upload or import all your media, and you populate it over here. And down here you have the editing panel where you can edit your footage that you've uploaded. This is where you have the view canvas where you will be able to preview all what is in the timeline. So the first thing you need to notice once you open Davinci Resolve is that there are pages. Okay, so down here you have the pages. You have the media page, you have the cut page, you have the edit page, you have the fusion page, you have the color page, and you have the Fairlight and deliver page. So depending on which page you are, all of them are interconnected. So the first one, let's start with the first one, which is the media. This is where you import all your media. You can import directly from the local computer that you have over here. You can navigate around within your computer and import footage. So this involves different kind of images, videos, audios. You can import all of them into this very space. So you can navigate locally by just clicking on this and then just navigating around, and you can see this is my folder. You can just navigate to wherever you have that particular folder. Okay, assuming in my own case I have it here, and you can just see I have my video. You can select, click and hold the shift key, or you can hold the command tool to be able to import all of them. I have images and I have audio and I have b-roll of video footage. So once you select all of them, you can just right click and say import add folder to media into media pool. So you can add the folder into media pool, or you can add folder and subfolders into media pool. If you want to add the folders and subfolders within a particular folder into the media pool, you can import all at the same time. Or if you want to import the raw media files into the pool, you can equally do that. And you have other options. Add folder and subfolders into media pool. This is going to create a new bin for you, and you have other options as well, so you can just follow through and just see which one is best for you. So for my own case, I would like to import the add folder and subfolders into the media. So once you click on import, it's going to bring in pop up this item. What it's saying is the selected clips have different frame rates to the project. The ones that you want to import have different frame rates. So what you just need is to equate them to the existing frame rate that you have chosen. For example, so all you need to do is to say change it. You just click on change, and everything is going to be changed to a uniform frame rate throughout your working environment in Davinci Resolve. So you just click on change, and you have all of them imported. All the media footage are imported over here. So the first thing you need to notice once you are, this is the media pool. Once you're here, you've imported everything, and as you hover over any given footage, any given media, you will be able to see the preview of it on the canvas over here, and you can see including the audio. You can be able to navigate or hover over around it, and you can see the preview of the footage. The same thing goes with all the other media as a whole. So even the images, you'll be able to see a preview of them, and at any given point you can decide to work on them. So this is basically one way to import media into Davinci Resolve. So another second way you can import media is by selecting the different media, opening the file containing the media, select all the media, you can drag all of them and then import them and just drop them into the media bin just like so, very easily. So over here you can also change the view. You can change it to the either the thumbnail view or the list view as well, so you can see your footage directly from here just like so, and you can select and drag and drop over here. So let's try to look at the cut page. This is where you do most of your cutting of your footage. You can bring in footage over here, and you can do most of the cutting from here. So you can just drag and drop any footage into the editing timeline, and you can do all your cutting over here. The next is the editing tool, editing page. This is where you spend most of your time here when you are using Davinci Resolve. This is where most of the key editing features are. You will have access to everything you need as a whole. So you can drag and drop any footage For example, you can just move and you can just drag easily and drop any footage into this timeline. So you can once you drop, you can see it over in the timeline. And once you drop a footage, this is the editing page. You can see a preview of your timeline over here. You can move your clip around within the timeline. Okay, so this is editing tool. This is the editing page. If you want to edit, have a look at the properties of each of the clip or each of the footage, you can just select it and you can come to inspector over here, and you will have access to the different properties it has. So let's uncheck inspector, and we have another screen shown over here. Okay, so this is the source canvas. This is where you can preview a given canvas before you import it into the media. Okay, so next we have the fusion panel. Okay, this is where you do most of the addition of graphics and different kind of animations. You can do it over here. Next we have the color page. This is where you do most of your coloration, color correction, and color grading. Later on, we will touch all this and how to use it for beginners purpose. Okay, most of the key things that you will edit in terms of your coloration, you do it over here. Color correction and color grading. I will show you how to use most of these features in the most easiest way. Okay, so to have the best of your videos looking cinematic and fantastic, at least for beginners purpose. Next, we have the Fairlight. This is where you do most of your audio editing, audio properties, and audio editing over here. You deal with all your audio and its properties over here in the Fairlight. And the last page on Davinci Resolve is the Deliver. Deliver is where you will usually have to export, render your video, set in the properties, the export properties, and then export it. Okay, if you want it to be in the H.264, which is usually the MP4 format, or the Hyperdeck, or the H.265 or Pro Resolution format, you can change all over here. If you want to export video with these properties, or if you want to export only audio, you can just specify over here and which file, and you can specify the name and locations over here. So you do all that at the Deliver panel, Deliver page. Okay, this is where you specify the rendering properties and what you want to put on the render queue, and you see it over here. So for now, let's go back to the editing mode, because this is where we are going to spend most of our time editing video clips in Davinci Resolve. Alright, so the next thing is I want to show you the settings option down here at the bottom right. Okay, before we go into the editing proper, I will show you the settings down here. Once you click on it, it's going to open the project settings. Okay, whether you have made a mistake, or you want to edit something, or you want to change the configuration of the video, okay, you can see the settings over here. You can change to the different properties over here, and you can change to the aspect ratio and other properties, video monitoring properties, as well as the optimized media properties over here. You can choose and change accordingly. The image scaling and the color management you can change over here. So just be aware of the settings over here. The next thing is the workspace. If you are so certain and you like a given workspace, you have played around with the different properties and you like the workspace, you can easily come over here and save it as a preset. You can just come over here and you can just come to layout preset, save layout as a preset, or you can import a given preset as you want to start working. If you have another one, a given preset that you've saved, you can always import it, or you can save a given one as a preset. For example, I like this, and you can just save it as my preset. Okay, and you can say save, and you can just come refer to it at any given point, and it will just refer back to this particular preset. The next thing is to what you want to show on the page. You can see from here, you can switch to page. You can decide to show the media. You can instead show to the cut, the edit, the fusion. You can the color and the Fairlight. You can decide to unshow any of the pages from here. Right from here, you can disable or enable any of the pages that you want to show also from here. So this is basically about editing and the workspace, how to save it as a preset and how to import it as a preset. So once we open the Davinci Resolve and we are at the edit mode, the next thing is I would like to show you how to import media into the timeline and do some basic editing. So to import media, there are two ways. The first one is to start using the source panel over here. Once you double click on any given clip, for example, this video, once you double click on it, you can see it shown on the source panel over here. So the first thing is you can select an in point and out point by just moving the timeline, the the playhead over here. So for example, I want at this point to create an in point. Maybe from here I want to create an in point. I just hit on the letter I to create an in point, and then the next thing is I move to another point, for example to this point, and I want to create an output point. From here I press on the letter O on my keyboard, and this creates the in point and out point within the source panel over here. So the next thing is, if I want to drag and drop my clip, I will just easily drag it and drop it over here, and you can see the preview over here. So the first thing you need to understand is, as we drag and drop a given clip, you will notice that it came in together with the audio clip, and the preview of it is shown on the preview panel over here to the top right. So what if I don't want to import the audio and the video together? Maybe I want to import only the audio section of this selected portion of the clip. I will just come to the audio over here and just drag it over here directly. You can see it just dragged and dropped only the audio part. So let me zoom out a little with this zoom in tool so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, it just brought in only the audio section of the selection. What if I want to bring in only the video section? I can also hover over it, and you can see the video section over here, and once you drag it, and you can see it's brought in only the video section of the selected area in the clip. So this is how to basically import. Another way you can import your video clip into the timeline is just by directly dragging it from the media pool, drag and drop the entire clip into the timeline. So you can use this zooming tool to zoom out to see the entire clip that I have brought into my selection, into the editing timeline. So this is it. So this is the second way to bring in a media into the timeline, by just dragging and dropping, in addition to identifying the in point and out point. So over here I can just navigate around and identify my in point and my out point, and use the other editing features and edit it accordingly. So one more thing I would like to highlight is, you can select a given selection. Once you finish on selecting the given portion of the clip that you want to import, the third method of importing is you can drag that section into this very preview panel, and you will have this option to insert the video directly, or to override the existing video, or to replace an existing video, or to fit to fill, or you can do all sorts of ripple override or thereabout. I usually do append to end. So once you do append to end, wherever your clip is, it's going to put it at the end of it. So once I do append to end, and you can see it put it at the end of this particular clip, and then this is where that particular clip is going to start. So this is the third way of importing a media into the timeline. Alright, now that we have learned how to import given media clips into the timeline, let us try to have a look at the basic editing tools that are in Davinci Resolve. So once you import your media, the first thing is, you notice to the left over here, you have the video clips and the audio clips. So they are labeled just like so, video 1 and audio 1, and you have the option to lock a particular track, either the video or the audio. You just click on this and everything is locked, and you cannot change anything within this clip again. And then you have the option to disable the video track if you want to disable it, but it's there. You can disable a given track, you can do it from here, or you mute a given track, audio track, you can mute it, or you can put it on solo, which means you can silence any other audio within the clip, and you'll just be able to listen to this particular audio you are dealing with. This audio on this timeline is the only audio you are going to listen to. Every other audio you're going to solo mute it, or you're going to mute it direct. So this is about this. You can easily add a track by just selecting, right clicking anywhere outside it, and just select and add a track. You can add a mono track, you can add a stereo track, or you can add tracks, multiple of tracks, or add subtitle tracks or thereabout. You can delete a track if you so wish. The next thing is, you will understand that we have different kind of features over here. So the first one to the left is the zoom in and out tool. Over here you can zoom in to see the complete panel, or you zoom out, you can zoom out or you zoom in to see the details of the video clips that you've uploaded. And the next to it is also the zoom feature. You can also do custom zoom. You can do full extent zoom. When you click on it, it's going to, once you click on this, it's going to give you the full zoom, the zoom to fit on all the clips that are within the timeline. The next is a detail zoom. If you click on it, it's going to zoom to the timeline, okay, the playhead, and it's going to give you the detail of the what is under within the playhead. So you just click on this. This is detailed zoom, and you'll be able to have an access to all the features very clearly in detail. Okay, next is you have the custom zoom. Once you click on it, you're going to have access to all this. You can zoom in and out within the timeline. So the next thing is we have the marker tool. Okay, if you want to, at any given point, you want to select at a given point, you want to maybe remind yourself that you have to add something, you can just click on it and it's going to add a marker to it. You can see it over here, and you can double click on the marker tool and you can put it, you can give it a name, you can put in details. Maybe you want to add color, or you want to add a text. Over here, you can give it a description, or you can even change the coloration of this particular marker tool. And once you say done, you will have it selected over here. And during your editing, you can always refer back to it, and you will see, once you hover over it, you will see the preview of what you needed to add on it. The next is the flag tool. You can use flag tool also on any video clip to add some description or some detail that you may need to add on that particular clip. So once you click on it to add, you can see you've just added it on this clip, and you can double click on it also to put in some notes or some details, and you can change the coloration as well if you so wish, and you can remove the flags if you so wish at any given point in time. So the next thing is we have the snapping tool. Okay, the snapping tool is when you try to move a clip while on the selection mode. When you try to move a clip away, you can see that it snaps. Okay, when you try to bring it closer, you can see it snaps to the next clip. And if you want to remove this snapping feature, you can just uncheck this snapping tool, and once you try to snap to move close, you can see the snapping tool is no more. Okay, if you want to bring it back, you just select it, enable it, and you can see it snaps. Okay, next is you have the linking tool. Okay, the linked selection tool. This ensures that the audio and the video are linked together. If you don't want them to be linked and moved together, you can always unselect it. Like now, if I try to move this clip, you can see it moves together with the audio. If you don't want that, you can just unselect this. You can see when you try to move, you will be able to move the audio only, okay, without the video, or you can move the video only without the audio. So to link them back, you just have to come back and select the link mode, so both of them can move together at any given point in time. So this is about that. Next is you have one of the most important editing feature is the selection mode. With the selection mode, you will be able to move your clips away or outside, just like so. You can move, drag and move them around. You can exchange their position with the selection tool, and you can even as well reduce the sizing, or you can trim your clip from the edge. Once you navigate to the edge of a clip, you can see it changes to this sign, and once you try to drag it inwards, you can see it trims the clip from the right, and you can do that also from the left. It trims the clip from the left as well, so you can move left and right. The only key thing you should pay attention to is it leaves a gap whenever it is reducing a clip. So it is leaving a gap, so you try to drag, okay, and it's leaving a gap, unlike the other one that I'm going to show you in a bit. So the next is we have the trim edit mode, which you can get to by the letter T. The trim edit mode does three things. For example, once you select it, once it is active, you can see you have the option to do three things. The first, for example, is you can extend the clip around. Okay, you can extend the length of the clip around. If you see the green sign, it means the clip is still extendable. You can still extend it further. But once you see the red sign, it means that particular clip has reached its maximum or its end, so it can no more be extended. So this is the first feature. Another feature is you can, when you try to move it around at the center, you can see you are maintaining the same clip, but you are entering into the other clip. Okay, so once you get to the end of it, you can see it becomes red, but then the length of the clip is maintained, but then you can move and trim it forward or backward accordingly. And then you can have the last one, which is a slide trimming. You can come to the bottom of the clip over here, and you can try to slice it around. You can see the slicing, maintaining the same size of the clip but then entering into the other clip. Okay, you can just easily be entering and moving around just like so, just like slicing, just like the name implies, slicing into the clip. So let me kind of undo so we can show the other features. For example, the dynamic trim mode. The dynamic trim mode makes use of the playhead to move either faster to the right or faster to the left, increasing or decreasing the size of a clip. So for example, if I enable the dynamic trim mode and I press the letter N, the letter L, it's going to extend the video clip to the right. And if I press it twice, it's going to extend it twice faster. And if I press on the letter J, it's going to trim the clip to the left. And if I press it twice or thrice, it's going to trim it a bit faster. So let's try to the letter L, and you can see it is increasing it's trimming it. Okay, it's extending the length of the clip and it's trimming the other one. And I can stop by clicking on letter K, or I can move backwards and it's going to trim it backwards just like so. If you press it 3 times, it's going to trim it faster. So once you enable the dynamic trim mode, you can easily press the letter L and it's going to trim it to the right. If you press it twice, it's going to trim it faster. One thing you should pay attention to is you can see the starting and the end point of the trim over here and the process as it is moving around. This is just a preview. If you want to trim to the left, you can just press the letter J and it's going to trim it faster to the left. Okay, so the next, and which is one of the most important tool in the editing process, is the razor tool. Just like the name implies, the blade tool, it just cuts the clip at any given point. So once you have it selected and at any given point you just click, it's just going to slice the clip into 2. So for example, just like so, it's just going to slide the tool, just going to cut your tool at the clip at any given point. Once you hit on the left click, it's just going to create a cut on your clip. And with the selection tool, you will now be able to move the clip or separate them accordingly, move them around. They are now separate tools within the clip. So this is basically the most important tools. Over here you have the stop button and the playhead button to start and stop a given clip, to move to the last frame or to go to the first frame in the clip. You can do all that, and you can loop a given clip to keep playing continuously within a clip. So later on I will show you how to use the source button over here to do quite a number of things within your tools. So for editing purpose at beginner level, this is all you need over here. Now that we have a basic understanding of the editing tools in Davinci Resolve, let me show you how to do some basic editing like cut and do some trims, some ripple, delete, and the other about. So to just apply it, all you need to do is to just walk around with your playhead. So at any given point, if you intend to insert a cut, you can just use the letter B to insert the cut. You can insert cut at this point, and once you click, select the clip and you just press on letter B, it's going to enable the razor blade tool. Okay, and you can just click to create a cut. Okay, so once you create a cut, you are free to go back to the selection tool and you can select that particular portion of the clip and click press on delete to delete it, which is going to leave a space over here. And if you want to remove that space, you can come over here, select it, and you can come all the way and press delete, and it's going to cover it just like so. So this is one way to delete a portion of a clip and to cover the gap. Okay, so let's do that again using a different method. You can do the same thing by coming to the location where you want to delete. For example, I want to delete from the beginning of this clip, from this point to this playhead. All I need to do is to press on the shift and the open bracket. So the shift plus open bracket is going to delete that portion of the clip, okay, that I have selected from beginning to this point. Let me do that again. Undo, and from this point, like I said, from this point to the playhead is what I want to do, what I want to delete. So the shift plus the open bracket is going to create that for me, and manually I can select this portion and right click maybe and say ripple delete, and it's going to delete and cover the remaining part of and rejoin the clips together. Okay, another way to do it is if I want to delete from the beginning of this playhead at this point to the end of the clip, all I need to do is to hold down the shift and the close bracket this time around. The shift and the close bracket, and it's going to delete from that particular point of the playhead to the end of the clip. Okay, so let me undo that again. The basic difference is that when you do that kind of delete, it's always going to leave a space in between the clips. So whether front or backward, it's going to leave a space in between the clips. So if you want to do a ripple delete without leaving a space, all you need to do is to hold down the command key plus shift plus the open bracket. So let's do that and see how it happens. So the command plus shift to create a delete, to create a ripple delete around this place. So this is the keyboard shortcut I'm going to use. I want to delete this section and cover it just like a ripple delete. So I hold the command shift and the open bracket and it does the magic. So let me undo that again, and I want to do it from the extreme end over here. So assuming I have these clips connected and I want to do ripple delete from here to this point while reconnecting the clips together, all I need to do is to hold the command key plus shift plus the close bracket and it does the magic for me. So that's basically how to do ripple delete using different kind of methods. I have shown you how to do the trimming from the edges, okay, and I have shown how to do the trimming from the other edge as well, and how you can move on and how you can create and delete the basic spaces in between the clips and all that. So this is basically how to edit your footage pretty fast with the help of the shortcut keys to do ripple delete and so on. So just master it. Later on I will show you how to customize and use the shortcut keys to your advantage. So the next thing I would like to show us is how to bring in B-rolls into your video. So B-rolls are usually medias that connect the video content to the reality, maybe to show some descriptions while the audio is still playing in the background. So let's say we want to bring in a media to showcase what we are explaining at some point. For example, I may want to bring in some videos that I've imported, like this video. I want to bring it in. So all you need to do is double click on it and it's going to show on the preview panel, source panel over here. So you just define the points that you want to bring in. For example, the in point at this point, maybe I want to bring it at this point, and I can hit my letter I and you can just move quickly to another point. Maybe I want to bring in this at this point as the output. So I'll hit on letter O and I can just drag this section of the clip over to the timeline over here. To see it very clearly, I have to use the zoom tool over here to just zoom out so I can see this section very clearly. So you can see as I move around, it overtakes, because it is at the top, it overtakes what is existing in the video. As I'm explaining, I can quickly move in to show the b-roll, and after some time then go back to my explanation and then continue with the explaining. So you can have the option to link it and bring it up in the video and the audio format, or you can decide to mute the audio format so you can maintain the original or the main video, the main audio of the clip. This is how to bring in a b-roll section. You can do that with the video. You can do the same thing also with audio. If you want to bring a section of the audio, you can just double click and it's going to show a preview on this section panel in the source panel, and you can just all the way move to select the in point, and you can move as well to select the out point at any given point. And once you're starting with what you have, you can just easily drag it and drop it into the section, and you can see you've just dragged and dropped only the audio section that you've selected. Okay, you can equally bring in images to serve as b-rolls. Okay, while you are explaining, you can bring in images, so you can just navigate to whichever image you want to bring in. For example, this SoftMaker free office, you can just double click on it and you can easily drag it and drop it on the timeline. You're free to increase or to decrease it as appropriate as you so wish, depending on how much length you want it to appear within the particular clip. So as you are explaining this case, you will see it's going to come up as a b-roll. So quickly it comes up and then it continues, for example, up to the end of it, then it will go back to the main video. So it's now going back to the main video. So you can see very easily. So this is basically how to bring in b-rolls to put it on top of your video to enhance the flow of the content so that you can show more or visuals, so that you can connect better with your audience. Alright, so the next thing is how to bring in audio and do some basic editing in the timeline. So to bring in an audio, you can do the same method that we've shown. You can right click on the media pool and come all the way to import media directly over here, or you can come all the way and open the file containing the media. You can just easily select it, drag it and drop it in the media pool. Okay, so once you've done that, you can just drag it also into the timeline. Let's say we drop something like this in the timeline, and because it's a video and audio component, we can just select or link them, and then we can try to delete the video component of it, and we can listen to the audio to have a preview about how it's going to sound. Okay, so this is just how to bring in the audio. So let's do some basic editing as regards the volume editing. So the first thing you'll notice that once you select a given clip, you can increase volume size. You can play around with the volume size by selecting it, and once you come over, hover over it, you can see this small line. You can use it. You can just drag to reduce or increase the sizing. Okay, you can see the line. You can just increase or decrease the volume of the audio, just like so. And you can do the same using another method by enabling the mixer over here. You can just come all the way and click on the mixer, and you can see the different audio tracks. This is audio 1, this is audio 2. Right now we are on audio 2 because you can see audio 1 is muted. Okay, this is audio 2, so you can increase or decrease the audio as well using this same increase or decreasing tool. So the next method to increase or decrease is to use the inspector panel over here. Once you click on the inspector panel, you can come to the audio section. You can check out the video, the audio volumes over here, and you're free to increase or decrease, and you can see the preview on the timeline just like so, very easily. Once you're certain or you are not comfortable with the audio that you have selected, you can always undo or reset it back to the normal one that you've started working with. You can reset, or you can do increase or decrease at the same time. Now at any given point, you can try to cut or create a cut in the audio, for example by selecting the razor tool, and you can create a cut over here, and you can see it's now 2 different clips. Okay, 2 different audio clips. And maybe when you are listening to the audio at this point, you may want to create a softer outlet. Okay, you want it to finish at a soft point. It just kind of fades out or thereabout, something like that. So to create a fade out in the audio, all you need to do is to come over, hover over to the audio. You can see this small icon. You can easily drag it, and you can see it creates a little bit of fading depending on how far you want it to go and how sharp you want it to fade out. You can just create that fading out, and you can see just a preview of how it's going to be playing, and then at the end fades out. So you can see the fading out kind of it's kind of fantastic, and it's done professionally. You can do the fade in as well if you want it to start in the same way. You can do the same fading as you are creating. You can create it on at the end point of the audio. So you can see the starting, how it fades in till it gets to the maximum level. And the next thing I would like to show us is, what if I want to lower the volume of the clip at a given point. For example, at this point, I want to just lower a section of the clip. I can do what we call creating a keyframe around the clip. Okay, so we can just select it and come back to the inspector over here, and you can come all the way here and click on this to create a keyframe. The first keyframe can be the first, let's say we have this as the first keyframe, and then we move a little bit, we'll create another keyframe, and we move a little bit and create another keyframe, and then down here we can have the last keyframe. So to have a clear preview of this, you can come down here to the bottom right of the audio. You can just click on this, and you will have a clear idea about what you have just done. So if I want, I can just hover over this and click, and you can see I'm having a preview of lowering a section of the clip, and we can play with the other features as well. You can move around and play around with the keyframes to have it lowered to any level of your choice. So you can see we can lower a given section, or we can increase a given section if you so wish. Okay, so this is how to create keyframes. The next thing is how to add text into the video timeline. Okay, so all you need to do to start adding text and formatting it is to come to the top left over here and you see effects. You just click on effects and you can see a bunch of things, the audio transition, video transition, and down here you have titles. You can check around for a preview. As you hover over any of the titles, you can see a preview of what it is going to look like. So you can see as you just hover over it, you will have an idea of what it is and what is going to add a preview of it in the canvas. So for example, you can have this simple text and you can have different kind of intros, lower thirds, and many more. You can see them over here. Davinci Resolve has quite a lot of sample text that you can bring in and customize to your liking accordingly. Very nicely prepared. Okay, these are templates that you can use, lower thirds and all that. So let's say we want to take in this as an intro. I think I like this dark box. Okay, so let's say we want to take in this as an intro. All we need to do is to select it, drag it into the timeline, okay, and drop it just like so. And once we select it, we can come to the inspector tab over here and you will have access to the basic editings of this particular text that you've brought in, just like the normal text editing tools. For example, you'll be able to change the font style and all that. You can change the font style to anyone of your choice, and you'll be able to change the symbol. Do you want it light, regular, bold, extra bold, or light italic or italicized, and all that you can select directly. And you can change the color of the text by mere selection of this, and you have access to the color panel over here, and you can change it to any color of your choice. You can select, or you can just navigate around to be able to see a preview of how the coloration is going to look like. And I think white is actually doing a great job. You can navigate around to see sample text, other coloration that you can play around with. So once you select any, you can just click on OK, and that takes it as your sample. You can increase the size of the text over here if you so wish, and you can do some put some tracking if you want. You can increase or decrease the line spacing, put in emphasis, and play around with the positions as appropriate. You can use this X and Y axis to play around with the position, to increase it, move up or down accordingly. Down here you have the line coloration. This right now is set to blue. You can change the coloration to something else that can fit in your content. For example, this purple color might go, so you can say okay, and you can see you have changed it. You can change the green and the other features as well, because it's not purely purple. You can play around with the green, blue, and alpha and the other colors as well. So once you are certain you're done with this and you previewed and see that this is what you want, you can have a preview of it. Yeah, I think this is it, and I think it kind of looks fantastic. Even the exit looks cool. So you have the other option when it comes to the text. As you are on the text, you have the other option like the settings. You can play around with the transform. In cases for you to use the transform is if you want to move the text away, or you want to change the position, or you want to move it to other places. You can zoom in and out. You can link and unlink the two of them, and you can change position, rotation, or they are about pitching, anchor points. You can change all that from here. You can do a lot of cropping, dynamic zooming if you want. Later on I will show you how to do dynamic zooming and other features of that sort. So you can bring in different text. You have compositions in each one. If you click, you will see the properties underneath. The dynamic zoom, if you enable it, you see the properties. The cropping, you can do cropping of the text they are about. You can check and all that. So you are free to try it and see what you can do with this basic text. Within the video clip, you can be able to bring in other text as well. So you can bring in simple text or something like caption to be able to showcase what you are working on very professionally. So maybe at this point you may want to bring in this sample, something like this. All you need to do is simply drag and drop it on the timeline, and define the selection. You can increase or decrease the length of the text as well if you so wish, okay, depending on how long or how far you want it to cover. So once you select the text, you can add different kind of features like I've highlighted. You can even add backgrounds and so on. So you can come over here, you can see front light controls, motion blur effects, and so on. You can see all of them over here. You can play around and edit accordingly. So another thing I want to show us is how to use the transform to move the text around, because right now if you try to move it without this basic control, it's not going to move. So all you need to do is, once you are on the text menu, you can come all the way here to this small arrow. You click on this small arrow, you select on transform, and once you select on transform, over here now you have it as a free tool. You will be able to move it around accordingly within the text, within the video clip. Okay, so you can change position directly, or you can move it to the top, or wherever you want to put it. So this is basically how to use the transform. You can even zoom in and out to change the sizing accordingly. So this is basically how to bring in text and play around with its properties. Remember, you have both 2D and 3D text. Once you come down here, you will see a lot of, you can have subtitles also if you want to add subtitles, and you can have 3D text as well if you want. So these are 3D text effects if you want to add. Alright, so the next thing I would like to show us is how to add transitions and effects on text, on B-rolls, and on our video. So for example, if we want to add a transition into our effect or text, we can easily do that. All you need to do is to start by make sure you are on the edit button, and then you can come all the way to effects over here, and you can see video transitions and audio transitions as well if you want to fade in and out. So once you come to video transitions, you can see different kind of transitions. For example, you have the additive dissolve, and you have the blur dissolve and cross dissolve, or thereabout. So as you navigate or hover over a given text and a given effect, you are going to see the preview of it in the panel. So as you hover over the dissolve text, dissolve effect or transitions, you'll be able to see the sample or preview of how it's going to look like. This is smooth cut, and you can see other transitions as well, arrows and cross iris, diamond shape, transitions of different shapes. You can see a bunch of them. You have the eye iris, hexagon, and the oval, pentagon, square, triangle, and so on. And you have others like the motion ones. You have push. I always like this push effect. You can have the push, you can have slide effect, and you can have split effects as well. You can have shapes. If you want to try it, you have shapes of different types, and you have wipes of different types as well. So it's up to you to try to select from this bunch of features, bunch of different effects. Resolve is really equipped with quite a lot of different kind of transition effects depending on your choice and your preference. So you're free to explore all of them, and as you hover over, you will be able to see, to have a preview of how it's going to look like as a sample. So I think let's go through with simple wipe, simple slide, something like this, and to put it on a text, all you need to do is just to drag that effect and drop it in between the text. So you can see, you just drop it here, and you can see it has taken over. So once you want to try it, if you want to see it, you can zoom out, or you can come to the extreme edge to increase the length of the duration of the transition, or you can reduce the duration of the transition as well. You can increase or decrease it accordingly. So to see the sample of it, let's try to see. You can see how it ended or how it wiped into the next clip. The visualization is very possible, is very visual when you are on a clip. So let's try to create a cut within a clip and then try to put in the transitions as well. So let's say we created this cut. Okay, so let's say we created this cut and we want to add in this push transition. We can just drag it and drop it in between the cuts, and we can increase or decrease the transition effect as well as we so wish. So let's say we leave it something like this, and let's try to have a preview of the transition. So we just click and you can see it very nicely. Yeah, I think this kind of looks cool. If you want to see the properties of the transition as well, you can just come over it and double click. You can have it selected. Once you select the transition, you can see the transition properties over here. So over here you have it. It's a push transition. This is the duration. You can increase or decrease the duration. That's manually like increasing or decreasing the length. Over here you can increase or decrease the number of frames and do all sort of push effects. You can change the push. This is push to the left. You can just change it to push to right, or push up or push down as you so wish. You can change accordingly. You can change you can add some motion blur as it is pushing. Let it just put in some blur effect a little, and then you can change the coloration as well, and the border effect you can change also, all that. So you have a lot of controls over here as regards the transitions, the type of transition that you've included. So let's see, I have changed it to push up, and let's see whether that has taken effect or not. You can see it has taken it push down very easily. So this is how to add basic transitions in between clips. So let's see how we can add it within B-rolls. So we have some B-roll effect over here. So let's see how we can add the transition within B-roll in between a given B-roll and the video. Okay, so let's say at this point I want to add in a transition. So let's say it's a push, or let's say it's let's try something else. Center wipe. So let's say we put in this center wipe. So at the end of this B-roll, we want to have a transition and we want it to be center wipe. We can increase the size, the length a little bit. So once you have this as your B-roll playing, before you transit to the next clip, you're going to see the effect. Okay, just like so. Because it takes time, we can reduce the sizing and it will transit a bit faster. So let's have a look. You can see it. So this is basically it. You can select it. While selecting, you can see it over here in the inspector panel. This is the transition properties. You are free to play around with it as well to edit anything you want accordingly. In addition to video transitions, we equally have audio transitions. So once you check on audio transitions, you can see it over here. So you can have crossfade with this much decibel increase. You can have crossfade out. Okay, this is fade out, this is fade in with this much decibel, going up and coming down, and crossfade with 0 decibel, and this is custom. You can customize it to your liking. Okay, so all you need to do is just to, if you have a given clip, audio clip that you are trying to add some transitions to, you can easily add by selecting the clip. For example, I have a cut here and I'm trying to create a transition between these two clips. Maybe by fading out, I can just drag this and drop it at that particular point, and I have the access to put in this transition. And let's see the effect. This is going down by 3 dB. I can increase or decrease the sizing as well. So let me undo this and go back to the selection mode and select it. I can increase the transition effect, the fading out effect, by just coming over. You can see it. Let's hear the fading out. Yeah, you can see it fades out. This is just another way of adding a fade out, but this is just ordinary 3 decibel. It's not going to be that much. So the next thing is on how to add dynamic zoom on a particular clip. So let's say we have this clip selected and we have its properties in the inspector panel over here, and you can see among the properties you have the dynamic zoom over here. So once you click to enable it, you can see you have the different features in the dynamic zoom. You can see this is linear. You can do ease in, ease out, and ease in and out at the same time. So you can swap as well. So instead of easing, you can ease out. So this is a very small clip. So let's say we enable dynamic zoom and it's going to be linear. So let's try to have the effect. So look at from the beginning of the clip to the end of it, it zooms out. Okay, zooms in and zooms out. So let's try to have it in preview and see what it does. So you can see gradually it is moving in the background. Okay, it is easing out. Okay, from the way it started. You can see it is easing out, and you can now see me very clearly as it is out. So to see it very clearly, you have to just move in a bit faster. So this is it, and this is the easing out. This is the easing in, and this is the moving in and then moving out. So gradually, as I'm explaining the concept, it is increasing, or it is zooming in and it is zooming out. Zooming out directly is for you to see me clearly. You can swap in as well the effect. You can swap and make it, instead of zooming out, it's going to zoom in accordingly. So right now it is zooming out. So once we swap, it's going to start zooming in. Okay, so once we enable the swap, you can see it is now zooming in. Okay, you can see me very clearly, unlike at the beginning of the clip. Okay, this is now zooming in, and you can change it as well to either ease in and out accordingly from here. So this is how to add dynamic zoom in your clip within Davinci Resolve. And one last thing that I would like to show us within the panel is how to play around with the view of the panel. So to play around with the view of the panel, this is a timeline option, timeline view option. Once you click on this, you will have the option to, this is a timeline option. Once you click on it, you have the timeline view options, you have the video view options, you have the audio view options. You can play around with all of them from here. So for example, let's say the timeline view option, this is how it is interconnected between the links. You can click and you can see, you will not be able to see the waveform in the audio, or you can enable to see it, or you can disable it just like so, and you can disable, you can play around with the timeline view over effect also over here, and you can enable it to be something like this, or with and without the waveform. The video view options also, you can change it from this normal one to the thumbnail one, but only at some locations, and you can have the complete video without the thumbnail view as well. So just something like this, without the picture or without the frame rate, without thumbnail view within the video clip. Or you can have it, I think I prefer it this way, so you can have a preview of the thumbnail of the video part of the clip, what is it all about and what you can do. So the same thing goes to the audio view options. You can have it with the audio shown in one way, just like so, or you can have it shown in two ways. Okay, something like multi-stereo, and you can have it in the line format over here as well. So you can change accordingly. And down here you can play around with the sizing. This is for the video. You can increase the sizing, or you can decrease the sizing as well if you so wish. So you can see it now becoming very clearly. And with the audio as well, you can increase or decrease the sizing as well, just from here. So you have these very controls to yourself to play around with accordingly at any given point. Alright, the next thing is we're going to enter into one of the most important section of the video editing in Resolve, which is the color correction and color grading. Okay, so let's say at this point we're going to treat this coloration at the beginner level. So everything is going to be very basic. If you've not added coloration to your footage before, this is going to be very basic. So it's just going to be the most basic color correction video you've ever seen. So this is just simply for beginners. If you are an advanced user, then I recommend you try another video, but this is going to be strictly for beginners. So assuming we are at the editing tab, if you want to start your color correction, all you need to do is come to the color page over here by just clicking on color, and it is going to bring you to the color page down here. So at the beginning, this might look a little bit scattered and confusing and so professional to a beginner, but there's nothing to worry about. It's just going to be, I'm going to explain the basic concept over here of what you will have and what you can use to play around with your footage to have the best experience possible. So at this point, you will have the primary color wheels, which is at the bottom left over here. There are different color wheels, and they add different effects to your video. So all you need to do is to just understand their basic functions. So what we have is, sometimes we have our blacks. We can increase or decrease our blacks, which you can do from the lift over here. The lift over here is just representing the blacks, okay, the dark part of the video, and the gamma is just the mid-range, okay, and then we have the gain, which is representing the highlight part of the video, and then we have the offset, which talks about the image or the video as a whole. Any correction is going to be on the coloration or the image, considering the image as a whole. That's what the offset does. And we have different kind of, we have small wheels over here. We call them the master wheels. Okay, they can be used to tweak in the controls, different controls, to bring in different kind of effects into our video. So as you hover over, as you drag and move tweak the master controls, you're going to see the effects on your video clip over here. So just pay attention as I explain the basics. This is the custom curves. You have it for all the coloration, the yellow, the red, the blue, and the green coloration. You can alter them accordingly. And down here we have the color scopes. This is very interesting if you understood the basic, because sometimes you don't have to trust your eyes when it comes to coloration. They can help you to guide you when it comes to what you should add and whether your color is peaking, whether you are losing some data. All these color scopes can help you to have an idea of what is happening. Sometimes you cannot trust your eyes. So let's try to look at the picture clearly, or the video clearly, and let's say it's a bit raw from the camera, but we want to make the darkest part of it appear darker, like my hair over here and this screen, computer's keyboard, and then this dark part to appear very much darker and thereabout. So you can increase this by just coming over to the lift, which is the darkest part. So if you play around with the lift, you can select this dot over here, and once you try to move it around, you can see the dark part of the image is moving. Okay, you can try to tweak it around, and you can see you can change coloration accordingly to any color of your choice. And don't worry about all these changes in the darkest part. You can always double click on it to reset it, to bring it back to normal, or you can come over here to this small arrow and undo or reset everything to normal. Right now it's already reset to normal. So but then while we want to tweak, we just want to bring in the blacks, to increase the blacks so that it becomes to appear blacks, and the whites to appear white. So you just come over here to this master wheel and you can tweak it around. So let's say we can increase, and you can see the blacks are gradually popping out and they are appearing to be really black. So just pay attention to the wheels over here so that it stays within. If it touches and try to go over this very selection, it means you are losing some data. So whatever you are going to do, we just tweak it a little without having too much of the color scopes going out of range. So you have only your blacks coming out to be very clearly. You can see my hair now appearing very black, and the other sections also appearing very black, while still maintaining these scopes within range. So this is how to add some black, and then you can add some white if you want. So let the white part of it appear white. So let's say we can come over here and just tweak it a little bit so that it appears white. The white part will appear white, and you can see it coming out. So you just be mindful of this tweaking so that you don't lose much of the data, but just have it a little bit so that you can see the white part coming out to be white. If you put it to be too much, then it's going to glow just like so, and you are losing a lot of data. So you can just bring it back to normal, but just make sure that the white is white, just like so, something like this. I think it's okay. Then what I usually do is I used to play with the saturation as well. I can add little saturation or reduce the saturation as you so wish accordingly. So you can come over here. I can have this saturation. Once you come over here, you can see the mouse changing into 2 arrows. You can just try to tweak it a little bit. You can reduce the saturation a bit, or you can add it to make it more cinematic a little bit. So you can see we can add a little bit of saturation, and you can see the effect while still paying attention to the scopes in the panel. So you can see we can add a little bit of the saturation so it appears. So what you can do at any given point to see the effect of what you have done is you can always come over here to this bypass color grades and fusion effects. Once you click, you can see the before and you can see the after. You can see the before and you can see the after, and then you can see and you appreciate the little you have done. The next thing I usually touch is I make sure I'm on the white color selected over here, and I click to select 2 points because I usually make an S shape. Okay, so once you move a little bit up, it's going to increase the lighting. You can see, okay, you can increase the lighting, and you can bring it down to decrease the lighting. You can bring it down to bring out the blacks also clearly. So I think you can see it coming out a little bit clearly, and the picture is now very much better and professional. You can do the same if you notice that there's more of red. You want to reduce the red coloration in the picture, you can do that as well. You can just play around with it. If you do it too much, you're going to see the effect, but then it's just going to be very little so that you can see the impact very clearly. And if you have noticed that there is too much green also, you can reduce it accordingly. Okay, you can select and reduce the green color, so you can pop out a little, the image can pop out a little bit. So it's just up to your discretion to just play around with it, but right now I think I'm okay with what I have. And you can see the preview over here regardless of what clips you are on. Whichever clips you are on, you can see the preview also over here and from the canvas as well. So at any given point, try to look at the before and the after, so you can appreciate what you have done. So this is basically how to do anything within. And at this point, if you want to undo any of the changes at this point, you can just come over here and click on the undo button over here and reset button over here, and to have them reset. Okay, so you can reset any portion of the clip. Okay, so the next section that I would like to touch on this Davinci Resolve is how to use the shortcut keys, okay, keyboard shortcuts to fasten your editing process. So for example, at what I usually use frequently is at this point, I can create ripple delete. I have shown through the video how I create my ripple delete at different points. For example, I want to cut from this point to where the playhead is. I can just use the command shift and the open bracket, and it close it and it delete it and close the gap just like so. And if I want to delete at this point, from this point to the end of it, I do the same command shift, but this time around close bracket to do the deleting. This is the ripple delete that I use. But then you can customize ripple deleting and any other function, key function, if you want, by just coming to the Davinci Resolve over here, and you can see keyboard customization. You can see keyboard customization. You have the option to kind of select, and this is you will have the option to view the entire keyboard and what the very basic functions are with the keyboard shortcuts. So you can see the shift, the control, and the optional option button over here, the command button over here, just to showcase what different kind of key shortcuts can depict in your editing process. So you can check around the different commands as well as the keystrokes over here. So for example, you can have change clip duration by just hitting on the command D to change clip duration, and you can change clip speed as well by hitting on R, and you can change enable clip by hitting on D. This one I have overridden because I have used another shortcut. For example, I can change ripple delete to, and you can search. The basic part is you can search for any control over here. So for example, I want to search for, this is the control for ripple delete, and if you want to customize anything, you want to change it to another keyboard shortcut, all you need to do is to click on the plus sign over here. You just click on plus sign, and then you can add the shortcut key on your own. So for example, at this point I want to make it the letter D. You can see it pops up that the letter D is already assigned to clip edit. Okay, enable clip. So to this one has been assigned, but I still want to, do you want to assign this keystroke? Yeah, I still want to assign it to this one, even though it's going to show this. But then once you click on save, it's going to pop up that it has saved it for you on your keyboard. So this is how to kind of customize it. So once you are editing, so let's go back to the editing process. Let's say we'll close this, and maybe I want to do a ripple delete at this point. Let's say I create another cut here, and I needed to do a ripple delete from this point, and I could just select the clip and press on letter D, and you can see it does a ripple delete and close the gap for me. So basically this is how to play around with the keyboard shortcut. You are free to customize it to any form. The ones that you use most often, you can easily customize them to have it very clearly, so you can use your hands to move around within the keyboard and have the best editing procedure. So you can edit faster, much faster with keyboard shortcuts, and you can do that with little efforts as well. Alright, so the last section of the video is the rendering process. Okay, how to render and export your video into MP4 or any format of your choice. So to do that, all you need to do is to move away from the edit page and come to deliver page over here, which is the last page. So once you're here, you can see a preview, and you have previewed everything about your video, and you're certain you're satisfied with what you have, you liked what you've seen, and you want to export it from the Davinci Resolve software. You like what you have edited, and you are so comfortable with the graphics, with the different kind of text and animations that you've put in. You can come all the way to export, which is you can come to the custom export, and the basic things you will need over here are the name of the file. So you can just give it a name, my intro, and you can specify the location over here. You specify which location, and you can just go ahead directly and specify where do you want to save it specifically. So assuming I want to save it here, and I give it the name this, you can put in some tags for ease of remembrance. Once you say okay, it's going to be saved in this location, you have the option to select the other features. These are the video features. The format is QuickTime. You can change it to MP4 if you want, but right now you can I usually go to the H.264 and keep everything on. This is the H.264, which is usually the MP4 format. You can see everything over here. Everything I keep it at default. The frame rate I keep it at default, and the resolution I also keep it at 1920 by 1080 HD, and every other thing I keep at default. You can come to the audio properties also and play around with some of the key properties, but I usually leave everything at default. So you can see, just have a preview of what you are exporting. You can check the advanced in cases when you want to play with the pixels and the data labels and the color spacing and all that. I don't usually touch any of this, and once you finish selecting all this and the basic features, you assign the name, you assign the location. You can just come down here and say add to render queue by just clicking on add to render queue, and you will see it over here being added to the render queue. So once you are certain, and you can just come down here and say render all if you want to render the video to just start rendering. So just hit on render all, and you can see it starts rendering the video. You have the option to stop it, or you can pause it if you so wish. But then this is the rendering, and it just takes a little bit of a time, and then it finished rendering, and you can preview the video and have a look at it. So this is it. It has just finished the rendering, and you can just go ahead and have a look at your video that you've created.